you know, there's something we need to talk about. Something that might make you uncomfortable at first, but I promise you, understanding this could save years of your life and preserve your sanity in ways you can't yet imagine. We've been conditioned from childhood to believe that helping others is always noble, always right, always the spiritual thing to do. We've been taught that saying yes is virtue and saying no is selfishness, that being available to everyone makes you a good person and setting boundaries makes you cold. But what if I told you that this entire belief system is not only wrong but actively destructive? What if the compulsive need to help certain people is not love at all, but a form of interference that prevents them from learning the very lessons life is trying to teach them? If this resonates with you, if you've ever felt drained by helping people who never seem to change, please give this video a thumbs up and share your experiences in the comments below. And if you're ready to learn the wisdom of discernment, subscribe to this channel for more insights like this. Now, I'm not suggesting we become heartless or indifferent. That would be swinging to another extreme entirely, wouldn't it? The question is not whether we should care about people. The question is how we care, and far more critically, who we choose to invest our precious energy in. Because, you see, there are certain types of people who will drain you absolutely dry, who will take and take and take until there's nothing left of you, and no matter how much you give, it will never be enough. And here's the tragedy that nobody talks about. The tragedy is not just that they're taking from you. The tragedy is that by helping them, you're actually preventing them from growing. You're standing between them and the wisdom that can only come through experiencing the consequences of their own choices. Let me share with you 6 types of people that you must learn to recognize, not so you can judge them or condemn them or feel superior to them, but so you can protect your own life for, and paradoxically, give them the greatest gift possible, which is allowing them to face the experiences they desperately need to wake up. The first dangerous person you must not help is the chronically lazy, the perpetually passive, the one who has made helplessness into an identity. Now, there's a profound difference between someone who's genuinely struggling and someone who has simply given up and decided that life is too difficult and someone else should carry their weight. The person who's truly struggling will take your help and use it as a stepping stone to climb higher. They'll use your hand to pull themselves up, but the chronically lazy person will use your help as a hammock, as a place to rest indefinitely while you exhaust yourself holding them up. They've made a decision, whether consciously or unconsciously, that effort is optional, and someone else will always come along to do the hard work for them. And the moment you step in to help, congratulations, you've just volunteered to become that someone else. Watch what happens in nature, because nature is far wiser than our sentimental ideas about helping. A mother bird does not continue bringing food to a chick that refuses to open its mouth or make any effort. A tree does not keep nourishing a branch that produces nothing, that contributes nothing. Nature is absolutely clear about this principle. If something is not producing, if something is not contributing, if something is not making any effort whatsoever, it eventually gets cut off. Not out of cruelty, but out of profound wisdom, because resources are precious and cannot be wasted on that which refuses to grow. The chronically lazy person will always have an excuse, and I mean always. They'll tell you about their difficult childhood, their string of bad luck, their unfair circumstances, how the world has been against them, how they never got the opportunities others had. And some of this might even be true. Life is genuinely unfair sometimes. But here's the only question that actually matters. What are they doing about it right now, in this present moment? Are they taking any step, however small, however imperfect, to change their situation? Or are they simply sitting there, waiting passively for someone to come along and fix everything for them, to hand them a better life without them having to do anything different? When you help someone who refuses to help themselves, you rob them of something absolutely precious. You rob them of the deep satisfaction that comes from their own accomplishment. You rob them of the strength that only developed through overcoming difficulty. You rob them of the self self-respect that can only come from knowing you did something hard and survived it. You rob them of the very discovery they need most, which is that they are actually capable, that they have power, that they can change their own circumstances if they're willing to make the effort. Some of you watching this have been carrying people for years, perhaps decades. You pay their bills month after month. You solve their problems again and again. You clean up their messes repeatedly. And every single time you do it, you tell yourself you're being kind, you're being loving, you're being spiritual. But what if your kindness is actually keeping them weak? What if your help is the very thing preventing them from ever standing on their own feet? The lazy person needs to feel hunger. They need to feel genuine discomfort. They need to experience the natural consequences of their choices, because it is only when the pain of staying the same finally becomes greater than the pain of change that they will actually move, that they will finally take action. The second dangerous person you must not help is the perpetually ungrateful, the entitled one who treats every gift as if it were their right. Have you ever noticed that some people can receive the most extraordinary gift and act as if it's nothing at all? You could give them your time, your money, your energy, your very heart, and they will take it without a second thought. No thank you, no acknowledgement, no appreciation whatsoever, just an expectation that more will come. This is not an oversight or bad manner. This is a fundamental character issue, a distortion in how they see the world and their place in it. Gratitude is not just polite behavior. Gratitude is the unmistakable sign of a person who recognizes they are part of something larger than themselves, who understands that they are interconnected with others. A truly grateful person understands viscerally that every blessing, every gift, every kindness they receive is not owed to them but given freely. And when you understand this deeply, you treat gifts with reverence, with care, with appreciation. But the ungrateful person believes fundamentally that the world owes. They believe your help is their right, their entitlement, something they deserve simply for existing. And here's the strange paradox that plays out again and again. The more you give to an ungrateful person, the less they appreciate it. The more you pour into them, the more entitled they become. They begin to expect more and more, to demand more and more, while appreciating it less and less. I once knew someone who helped a friend pay rent for 6 straight months. Month after month, he sacrificed his own comfort, his own financial security, to make sure this person had shelter. And do you know how the friend responded? With complaint. He complained that the apartment was too small, that the neighborhood wasn't nice enough, that he shouldn't have to live this way while others had so much more. Not once, not a single time, did he express genuine gratitude. Not once did he acknowledge the sacrifice being made on his behalf. And when those 6 months ended and the help could no longer continue, do you know what happened? The friend became angry, actually angry, as if he'd been betrayed, as if the help he'd received was not a generous gift but a debt that was now being unfairly withdrawn. This is the nature of the ungrateful. They do not see your kind. They see weakness they can exploit. They do not see your generosity. They see an opportunity to take more, and they will continue taking and taking and taking until there is absolutely nothing left of you to give. When you help an ungrateful person, you are not planting seeds in fertile soil. You are throwing precious seeds into a bottomless pit, and no matter how many seeds you throw, that pit will never be filled, never be satisfied, never produce anything of value. The third dangerous person is the arrogant and self-righteous, the one who already knows everything. There are people who do not actually want your help. What they want is your validation. They do not want your wisdom or insight or perspective. They want you to confirm what they already believe, to tell them they're right, to support their existing view of themselves and the world. And if you dare to offer anything that challenges their self-image, anything that suggests they might need to change or learn or grow, they will reject you entirely, often with hostility. The arrogant person is not suffering from lack of knowledge or information. They're suffering from excessive pride, from an inflated ego that cannot tolerate being wrong about anything. They believe they already know that their way is the right way, the only way, and anyone who suggests otherwise is simply misguided or ignorant, or threatened by their brilliance. Pride is a fascinating thing when you examine it closely. It masquerades as confidence, as strength, as certainty. But actually, it's fear. Deep existential fear. The arrogant person is terrified of being wrong because their entire sense of identity is constructed on the foundation of being right, of knowing, of being superior. If they admit they don't know something, if they acknowledge they need help or made a mistake, their whole psychological structure begins to crumble. And so they double down. They defend aggressively. They argue endlessly. They reject anything that threatens their self. You cannot help a person like this, and it's crucial you understand why. Not because they're beyond help or irredeemable, but because they do not believe they need help. They believe they need validation. And until they come to the realization themselves that they don't have all the answers, that they need to learn and grow and change, anything you offer will be completely wasted. It will bounce off their armor of pride without ever reaching. Even Jesus, the great teacher, walked away from people like this. He didn't chase them down the road, begging them to listen. He didn't argue endlessly, trying to convince them. He simply said what needed to be said and moved on because he understood something profound. You cannot force wisdom on someone who is utterly committed to their own foolishness. You cannot teach someone who believes they're already the teacher. The arrogant person must fall, and often they must fall hard. They must experience the painful consequences of their pride and their refusal to learn. They must hit the ground hard enough that they finally look up and realize they do not have all the answers, that they desperately need help, that their way isn't working. And only then, when they are genuinely humble, when their pride is finally broken, will they be ready to receive help. Until that moment arrives, helping them is like trying to fill a cup that's turned upside down. The fourth dangerous person you must not help is the habitually wicked, the person who causes harm as a way of life. Now, I want to be very careful here, because we live in an age that's uncomfortable with words like wicked or evil. We prefer softer language that makes everyone feel better. We say someone is troubled or misunderstood or had a difficult path. But there are people in this world who are not confused about what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. They understand it causes harm, and they do it anyway because it serves them. The wicked person is not someone who makes occasional mistakes. We all make mistakes. We all cause unintentional harm sometime. The wicked person is someone who has made wickedness, manipulation, exploitation, and harm into their way of operating in the world. They lie habitually. They cheat systematically. They manipulate deliberately. They harm others without genuine remorse. And when they're confronted with the harm they've caused, they don't repent or change. They justify, they blame, they deflect, they make themselves the victim. When you help a wicked person, you become their accomplice, their enabler. You give them the resources to continue doing harm. And let me tell you something crucial. They will use what you give them not to change, not to become better, but to go deeper into their destructive pattern, to harm more people more effectively. There's a reason why wisdom traditions across all cultures warn against supporting those who do deliberate evil. It's not because we lack compassion or believe in giving up on people. It's because we recognize that some people have chosen a path that leads to destruction for themselves and everyone around them. And if you try to pull them off that path before they're ready, they will only pull you onto it with them. They will drag you down into their dark. The wicked person does not want to be saved or reformed or helped to become better. What they want is to be empowered to continue their pattern. They want someone naive enough to fund their scheme, to cover for their lies, to clean up the wreckage they leave behind, to give them another chance and another, while they continue doing the same harmful thing. If you step into that role, if you become their helper and supporter, you are not helping them. You are partnering with darkness, enabling destruction, becoming complicit in harm. The fifth dangerous person is the incurably foolish, the one who refuses to learn from experience. Now, a fool is not someone who lacks intelligence or education. A fool is someone who makes the same mistakes over and over and over again, who ignores all advice, who rejects wisdom repeatedly, who touches the hot stove 100 times and is genuinely surprised each time that it burns. The difference between a wise person and a fool is devastatingly simple. A wise person learns from experience, adjusts behavior, grows, and changes. A fool does not, cannot, or will not learn, no matter how many times life tries to teach them the same lesson. Here's what makes this particularly difficult. The fool will often come to you in genuine distress, in real crisis, in apparent desperation. They'll be drowning, and your heart will naturally go out to them. You'll want to help, want to rescue, want to save them from the consequences they're facing. But if you look carefully at their history, if you examine the pattern, you'll see something crucial. This is not their first crisis. This is not the first time they've needed dramatic rescue. In fact, they've been in this exact situation multiple times before, and each time someone stepped in and helped them, and each time they went right back to the same behavior, the same choices, the same patterns that got them into trouble in the first place. The fool is like a person drowning in the ocean who refuses to grab the life preserver you throw to them. Instead, they keep thrashing and splashing and going under. And if you jump in to save them directly, they will pull you under with them. You cannot save a fool through intervention or rescue or protection from consequences. Only life itself can teach them. Only the full weight of consequences from their own repeated actions can potentially break through their stubbornness and resistance. And if you keep intervening, if you keep rescuing them from consequences, you prevent those consequences from doing their necessary work, from teaching the lesson that desperately needs to be learned. The sixth dangerous person you must not help is the master manipulator, the one who makes you want to give. The manipulator is perhaps the most dangerous person on this entire list because they're the absolute hardest to recognize. They don't come to you with obvious demand or threat. They come with compelling story. They don't take from you directly or forcefully. Instead, they make you want to give, make you feel like giving to them was your own idea. The manipulator has studied human nature carefully. They understand that good people want to help others. They know that kind people feel guilty when they say no. They recognize that generous people get satisfaction from giving, and they use this knowledge like a precision weapon. They will tell you exactly what you need to hear to open your heart and your wallet. They will play expertly on your emotion, your value, your desire to make a difference. They will make you feel special, needed, important, uniquely capable of helping them in ways no one else can. And before you even realize what's happening, you're doing things for them that you would never do for anyone else, giving in ways that exceed all reasonable boundaries. The manipulator is a shapeshifter, a psychological chameleon. With one person, they play the victim. With another person, they play the hero. They change their story depending on who they're talking to, adjusting it to match what that particular person needs to hear. And if you ever compare notes with others who have dealt with them, you'll find that the stories don't match, that they've told each person something different, carefully crafted to manipulate that specific individual. When you help a manipulator, you're not helping a person in genuine need. You're feeding a system, providing resources for them to continue their game and deception and exploitation. And the moment you stop giving, the moment you see through their carefully constructed act, they will turn on you instant. They will paint you as the villain in their story. Tell others how you wronged them or betrayed them or failed them, and they will move seamlessly on to their next target, their next victim. So what do we do with all of this understanding? Do we become cold, cynical people who refuse to help anyone? Do we stop caring entirely and become hardened and indifferent? No, absolutely not. That would be swinging to another harmful extreme. What we do is develop discernment, that rare and precious quality of being able to see clearly and choose wisely. We learn to recognize the profound difference between someone who is genuinely struggling and working to change, and someone who is stuck and has no intention of doing anything different. We learn to distinguish between someone who needs a temporary hand up to get back on their feet, and someone who wants a permanent free ride at your expense. We learn to see clearly without judgment, but also without illusion, without the sentimental stories we tell ourselves to avoid the discomfort of saying no. True compassion, real love, is not enabling destructive patterns. True compassion compassion sometimes means stepping back completely and allowing people to face the full consequences of their choice, because it is often through difficulty, through hardship, through finally hitting bottom, that people wake up and change. When you help the right people, people who are truly ready and willing to grow, you see fruit. You see real change, real growth, real transformation. When you pour your precious energy into good soil, you see abundant growth. But when you give endlessly to those who are not ready, who do not want to change, who will only use you and drain you and demand more, all you will ever see is waste, depletion, and exhaustion. Your energy is precious and limited. Your time is finite and irreplaceable. Your resources, whether material or emotional or spiritual, are not infinite, and you must be deeply wise about where you invest them. Not everyone deserves your help, and understanding this is not cruelty or selfishness or lack of compassion. It is wisdom, it is discernment, it is proper stewardship of your own life force. So ask yourself today, right now, who am I helping that I should let go? Who am I rescuing that actually needs to fall and learn from falling? Who am I enabling that desperately needs to face their own consequences? And when you find the honest answer to these questions, have the courage to step back, not with anger or resentment or punishment, but with the clear understanding that sometimes the most loving thing you can possibly do for someone is allow them to experience the full weight of their own choices, to let them struggle until they develop their own strength, to let them fail until they learn to succeed on their own. Because, in the end, you cannot save anyone from themselves. You cannot want their growth more than they want. You cannot force someone to change who is committed to staying the same. All you can do is point toward a better way. Offer help to those genuinely ready to receive it, and have the wisdom to know when to step back and let life itself be the teacher. And that, my friends, is not abandonment. That is the deepest form of respect, trusting that each person has their own journey, their own lessons to learn, their own path to walk. Your job is not to carry them down that path. Your job is to walk your own path with integrity and offer your hand only to those who are genuinely reaching for it.